it, Twitch, AMD, and SteelSeries.
Well, Jason, we would go longer on those sellouts, but we are actually getting in game is OWLMP Owl mid-season pickups. We're just going to call them the Owls from here on out because it's simply easier against Team No Clout. And immediately, if you look at the Owls, you're going to see one player that it should be notable to you if you followed Overwatch for a while. This is Louis' new team.
I thought you were actually going with IPN for some reason there. I was like, oh, Louis, yeah.
IPN as well.
There's actually a lot of people on OWLMP or the Owls that we've seen. H2K or Louis from H2K and FaZe. You got Worse from LDLC and MKers. You got IPN from 123 NWA and No Clout. Honestly, I don't know a lot about this team, but I do know they're currently 9-1 in the Open division, where OWLMP are 9-0. So it's kind of a battle of the top tier teams in Open.
Well, both teams getting into it immediately here. Not a lot of chill on either side. The dive meeting each other here by the hotel, and it's going to be Proggy going down early, but immediately res back up. A risky resurrection for IPN going to pay off as Wars in the sky, not much pressuring him. That's going to be a quick take here from OWLMP.
So having the Pharah Mercer versus Pharah Mercy this time. I'm not going to say who are you or someone replicating what he was doing with the solo Pharah. So you're going to see a lot of air battles most likely happen when they do get in close proximity of each other. But I'd say if we're going to be able to watch any of it, just watch where the rockets are going for the most part. Because when a Pharah is shooting the ground, it means the other Pharah can kind of not have much pressure against her and shoot against the ground as well to kind of replicate and mirror it.
Well, speaking of the ground war, Louis just tried to land a pulse bomb there, did not connect. Both pulse bombs out for both sides. Nothing there in the beginning, but it's Hypnot taking a lot of pressure, gonna fall early. Both Winstons out of the fight. 5-on-5, no monkeys on the field, but it's gonna be a self-destruct from Hawk. In over the top, gets IPN, and that's big. He had Valkyrie up, Jason. We'll see now if No Clout can turn this one to their favor.
I think they might be able to. Little Menace has his Valkyrie being used. He's getting a lot of healing in for the backside. Obviously, the chain heals that he can do. The thing is, Guru and Lou are still left alive, and they're still doing some serious work here. Little Menace is being forced to zip back and forth constantly as now Progy's jumping directly on top of her, takes him down. And it might still maintain the way of the boost side here.
Louis ripping his way through the tank line, takes down 2. IPN with the Valkyrie coming back in. It's a slow way to res someone, but it's a res nonetheless. As Progy gonna be brought right back up into the fray. And OWLMP able to maintain control in a fight that, frankly, should have gone the other way.
Yeah, I think Guru and Louis just stayed alive way too long. Like, we had Guru who was desuited, now going to be an anti-air self-destruct, going to catch out... Oh, Voil, actually. I thought it was going to catch out Menace, who actually was high enough to keep the distance away so he did not die from it. But that's part of their combo that they need to push in with.
So, for No Clout, this is make or break. 80% on the board here so far. Next fight will be decisive. They do have a barrier here, though, Jason. So, Paintbrush, the goal for him is going to be the weight. Oh, gets picked off! There's no barrier. That's a disaster. They're going to res him back up, though, so we still might get a barrier anyway. No, it was actually taken down because there's been fight. Yeah, there's no barrier, period. It's drained, and that is going to be pretty decisive here for OWLMP, although Hypnot is potentially going to bring this back.
Just knocked 2 people off the map here. Hawk picks up one. Hawk picks up a double kill, and they lost their sound barrier to Paintbrush and actually rested back alive, and the enemy team OWLMP had one, the Owls, but it didn't seem to have mattered. Poor Paintbrush. I was waiting for I heard the let's break it. I'm like, when's it coming down? And then I realized he was actually killed like immediately in that fight. Really good focus targets out of the Owls, but they still lost the fight nonetheless.
And the problem for him is that because he was mid-sound barrier, you just lose it. That was a change that came in a while ago. No alt refunds.
Is it true if you don't use it, you lose it?
I think to some degree it just might be, as now the offense from OWLMP moving their way back in. Louis focusing on tanks more so than anything else. Hypnot, though, able to shake the pressure to a degree. 5-on-5 right now as Wars over the top, drops the barrage, but only gets Winston in the end. Dies from the process as Voil also barrages Winston. All Winston's eating rockets here today. However, Louis still in the hunt right now. Darting around, pulse bomb charge, eaten by the Diva. Not going to explode Diva that time as Hawk turns the tables on Louis.
So really reminiscent of what we just saw with the FU game, where they held the point until 99%, then they lost it, and they were never able to actually recap it back. Hawk going in with the anti-air self-destruct. Again, going to catch out IPN. No! He gets a lot of damage to him. IPN just barely ranging it to his survival.
I would have
liked a questionable push.
I would have liked Hawk to have saved that a little bit. I don't think he needed to go for the crazy delay there. Now there's an opportunity as the Valkyrie going to be used here immediately for OWLMP. Progy not able to stay alive, focused down despite the Valkyrie that was on him. 6-on-5 advantage here for No Clout. OWLMP and a world of hurt right now as Hypnot uses the Primal Rage to zone the rest of the team out. And now Jason, one more team fight, and No Clout might have pulled the comeback.
And the Owls have no ultimates to use. They're going to have Sound Barrier in just a few seconds, but they've got a Valkyrie up for Little Menace. They have a Sound Barrier for Paintbrush. They have no offensive ultimates, but they have the 2 support ultimates they need to survive this one. As long as none of them get picked off and Paintbrush doesn't die mid-Sound Barrier, it should be okay.
Well, this time he's able to share his music. No one stopping him from doing it here, as Hawk, over the top, finds Progi and isolates him immediately. 6-on-5 advantage set up by that Sound Barrier, and the self-destruct gonna be clearing people off the point. Will it be enough? It just might be. Hypnot back into the fight. A full 6-man setup right now for No Clout as they are pushing the Owls back.
IPN is still alive though. He's actually trying to be focused down. He's like trying to stick to Guru, trying to bounce around different targets, trying to be very mobile, and that's gonna be the barrage coming for worse. He gets 1 kill. He gets a second one onto Hawk with the Diva now going down. They have a big man advantage with the counter barrage out of World coming in. He takes Smackdown as Worse is able to finally pick him off.
Worse right now might be the hero. 3 huge kills, even takes himself out of the fray. No one is safe, not even himself, but that is enough for the offense of OWLMP to retake it at the end. What an effort, though, from No Clout to bring it that far.
No one is safe, not even himself. Great stuff. Yeah, they turned that around. They struggled for a straight 99% to get back into the point safely. And then you kind of have to wonder if Hawk maybe didn't use that self-destruct before that last fight began. Would have changed things up a little bit differently? Would he have been able to use it a little bit later on? But, I mean, that map is going a lot different when it comes to this map. These points are obviously greatly different in the way you have to play them. The fact that you can use a lot of Reinhardt here, you can use a lot of Zarya, a lot of Moira as well, but you're not going to see Faraz too often.
No, Farah is not a big fan here in Control Center. I think you have to go back to when the game first came out to even see people run Farah here. But no, we're getting a different type of explosive action here. Junkrat being played on both teams. A difference from our first series of the day, as we see Wars already here laying in the Junkrat bombs to the backside, trying to weave them in over the shields. Neither team committing too heavily here just yet, Jason, but you've got to think the dive-in will be soon.
Yeah, I think actually the Owls have a better position here too because they're able to stay around out of line of sight more often, which allows Progi to keep his shield up. Hypnot is about to lose his shield, so they have to be very mindful of this, which is why you can see him sitting behind this pillar trying to keep it charged, trying to keep some sort of aspect of protection.
And you see how much the Moiras are healing here. Both Moiras have coalescence in this first fight. No one has died yet, but that might change soon. Here comes Riptire. Gonna demech Guru here early on. It's not technically a full kill, but it's enough to change momentum. But Paintbrush taken down, and Wars is gonna have a tire of his own here in just a second. Still, it's first capture going to No Clout. OWLMP, though, arguably with the advantage here in the point, Jason, they might be able to take this back soon. We'll see what this tire does, as that's yet another coalescence.
Yeah, Progi got a good Earth Shutter off in that fight too. He actually caught, I think, 2 or 3 people. But he eventually fell like right off the back of that. Now Hypnot's gonna have his own Shutter available. If they can spam the shield hard enough, it'd be very difficult for them to push in. They do use a Sound Barrier so they don't die to that Riptide, and so they can push in and immediately shove them off point. You can see Hypnot. He's just waiting for that moment. He's using that pressure of knowing, them knowing that he has an Earth Shatter to keep them back.
Not only that, but in that last fight, Hawk able to take down the tire was huge. Prevented a pickoff, prevented the DMAC, and No Clout now able to start zoning out the Owls. They get a better position here. They have a Graviton on deck, and the Graviton's what I look to here, Jason, as Voil, the world is his oyster. Plenty of opportunity for a good Graviton here. He's gonna lay it in, and there's the tire for follow-through. This is gonna be a clean team fight for No Clout.
It's a very clean team fight, and they're going to have as well as Self-Destruct and Earth Shadow use in the next fight. Louis is finally getting up to his own Graviton, so he's going to have to hit a very big grab here if they want to be able to pull this one back. They just wait, what, a couple of seconds for Worse to get his own tire up? You could see a relatively different kind of Big Bang happen.
No doubt about it. And now, as mentioned, we look to Louis. Louis doesn't want to throw the grab away. No, gonna get knocked right to the ground. The Earth Shot from Hypnot moving in, but the barrier keeps him alive. The counter push from OWLMP set up by the Graviton. Louis laying in the damage, and Force is there for the fall through. OWLMP well on their way to retaking control of this point.
Yeah, they should get it. Honestly, when the Earth Shadow only hit one target, they should have known, don't commit any other ultimates into this. We know we're not going to be able to maintain it because we know they have a Graviton to push in with. But I mean, luckily for them, they did at least force the Graviton to be used and not carried over into the next fight. The problem they have to worry about is a shout out to Progi yet again.
And Progi, he's getting set up in that Shatter area. I don't think he's being particularly sneaky, but there's a tire on path. Progi still waiting. Under pressure. Is he going to drop a Shatter under pressure? No, he's going to get knocked down and taken down. So now they're not going to have the Reinhardt barrier that really saved them here, Jason. This is the moment where No Clout can take advantage. They got Worse off the self-destruct. They are in full attack, and they're piling on.
Graviton a little bit rushed, but it does get the kill nonetheless. It's better to use it to get one kill than to never use it, as they're just trying to take this point back. You can see Guru going to be desuited yet again, immediately focused down by the hammer and the plethora of people here to swing away at him. And eventually, No Clout will take the point back, just trying to stall for as much time as possible as the Owls are able to do. And this is their point for the taking, to be honest. 86%. They've got a sound barrier to help stop this push from coming in. As long as Progi can't hit a good Earth Shatter, if they can block it out of Hypnot, then I think this is their map.
And I think it's very well going to be their map, but let's take a look at Progi. Progi, he's the man that's being hero. Drops the Earth Shatter and knocks down 4, if not 5. Progi setting the stage, but the fall through not necessarily there, despite knocking that many people down. OWLMP, they have to rush to the point. They can't focus on cleanup the way they would like to. And No Clout, right now, able to maintain decent control of the point.
They should be able to take this one. Louis very high charge, but he just used his Graviton. It really didn't net too much. IPN's about to come in with his own Coalescence. He's going to finally be able to use this one, popping it off. Hypnot.
Tire.
That's a great charge on a Louis.
Hobbs, Tire, moving in, wants to fish this out. There's a sound bearer up, rubbing, weaving, looking for anything right now is this Tire, and it's going to come up with nothing as Progi starts to clean up on the point. OWLMP pulled themselves out of the fire there, Jason, but the question is, can they win the next 2 fights?
Such an awkward fight too. It was Progi and IPN up against Hypnot and Little Menace. It was like a 2v2 Ryan v Ryan, Moira versus Moira. Neither of them could kill each other, but Progi hit 2 charges onto Hypnot to allow him to build up that Earth Shatter a little bit quicker to keep that pressure on, which I believe eventually did help turn the tide.
Right now I'm looking towards Voil. Doesn't have a grav up yet, but starting to get charged up, 60 energy. Will have it in the middle of this fight if it lasts for even a little bit of time. 93%. The pressure is on. Both teams still poking back and forth. Moira, Coalescence up, and now the Graviton is on deck. Voil, long have we waited. Look to the back, it's knocked up. It's a beautiful grab, picks up 5. Here comes a fall through, and No Clout on their way to taking this point if they can just get a little bit more. The Coalescence was able to buy them a bit of time in the middle of it, but Voil, he's still charged up. I'm not sure he cares, Jason.
Well, Louis come back in though as a tracer. Voil, he's charged, but he needs to get some kills. He's able to help pick up 2 on a Pro, get an IPN. Louis is going to help keep this one contested. Actually, they still have the points, so they're going to get that 99.99 overtime tick. But will they be able to get the kills and the reinforcements in time?
Hawk took down 2 there just from the back. His Diva stealthily doing damage, even as Voil is being the rock here. 100% energy, and the tank play from No Clout, despite the DPS play of Louis, is maintaining control here. They're going to officially take the point. Overtime, going to be ticking down, and this should be No Clout's round.
A lot of really weird fights happening in that one. That was really hard to kind of, in those long extended fights, break down like what turned the fight in what direction. But Voil having the energy, having the Graviton. Most importantly, he got knocked into the air by Worse, I believe that was, by the concussion mine, which allowed him to get over the defense matrix to hit a good Graviton onto 4 or 5 people. They just didn't get the clean kills after that.
No, they didn't. But that's always one of those things where it's just like, Junkrat, can you please not sabotage our own team in such a way where, okay, well, you know, we'll defend against Zarya on the ground. Oh, Zarya's learned to fly. This was not part of the program.
Channeling his inner R. Kelly, I guess, there. A little Space Jam action. But we are going to the 3rd and final point here on Lijiang Tower. It's tied at 1 apiece here so far on the map. This is only the first map, though, in this best of 5 series, so a lot more action to come your way.
All right, OWLMP working their way out. Certainly going to have to be looking to the skies for the Pharah of Voil, where both teams going to have a distinctly different approach here, where, again, blue team, the team of OWLMP, they're going to be wanting to take this indoors where possible, limit the options Voil has, and Voil right now was able to get plenty of poke damage, set up Hawk for that pickoff, said, hey, dive in, they're weak, and that's what we're seeing right now. The dive in followed up by the poke from Voil, and it worked out really well for No Clout.
Position he was using too was like really important. Off to the sides, he had the ability to retreat away, and he could chip away at them inside a courtyard. Like if you're attacking there into the point, you got to make the move. You got to like say, all right, let's go, let's speed in. You can't take that much chip coming in when Louis doesn't have a good angle.
You got to commit, pure and simple. That's what it comes down to. And now they're committing to this backside where they have a lot of protection, but Progi didn't have protection. He was the only one who went out, and he didn't get the weather report of rockets right to the face. No Clout playing the positioning game here really well, but still some cracks coming in. Worse able to take down 2 off the flanking play, and here comes Louis, where Louis plays best. It's a low number situation. You're on McCree, but no, just slam dunked by Hobbs when he least expects it. Not gonna be the Louis hero moment this time.
I remember seeing a movie like that. Wasn't it called Cloudy with a Chance of Rockets, I believe? It's a great movie about Pharah and
Yeah, I think I remember that movie. Might have been around last summer. Something along
Probably.
those lines.
Or just like 10 minutes ago, as Progi did find out. But they're going to push back in. Hopefully this time Progi doesn't get burst down immediately. He does have D.Va Gru there this time to actually keep him alive with the defense matrix, as Hobbs has already been picked off. And there's the barrage coming through to Boyle. He's going to get stuck with a pulse bomb.
Wars really being the MVP here. Not only won the Tracer 1-on-1 battle, but the Pulse Bomb perfectly placed. OWLMP, no chance that they don't come in and take this cleanly here as Little Menace wondering where life went wrong. One Mercy versus 5 people. Not going to end well for the Mercy, at least this patch.
I think he realized where it went wrong is when he was in Hero Select, and he chose Mercy. I think that was the time he realized it's all going wrong here, boy. But we do see the Far and the Mercy coming around the side. You can see Little Menace and Boyle. Again, look at all this chip damage they're doing onto Progi, getting him down relatively low. They're getting some ults built up for them again, and they're keeping them, keeping them aware of this right-hand side.
Guru under pressure, but got the self-destruct off. Will buy a little bit of room, but here's the big thing. The Deadeye got Voil. They're going to have to use the Resurrection early on. They don't have it in reserve anymore, but they're all committed here as no Clout. Sound barrier early on this fight. Not enough to save Hawk, and the tank focus from Louis is real. Both tanks out of the fight. OWLMP doesn't really care anymore. They can just roll right in because no Clout has no way of fighting that when their front line gets decimated that quickly.
Yeah, IPN and Louis together actually did some serious work where the Discords were there, they hit the right targets, they're focused the right targets down together, so they prevented them from being able to do anything with that like zoning potential of keeping Louis out of the fight. So really well done by IPN and Louis together. We've seen IPN, 1, 2, 3, do a lot of work as well, so it's not really too surprising to see him still having great performances.
So you see Fair Mercy coming in from the side. The main force here from No Cloud still has to move their way in. And you see OWLMP trying to bisect them right now. And they do. They catch Hypnot before he's able to move into the point, regroup with Fair Mercy. And this is just a nice engage. It's high noon. Louis takes down Little Menace and Voil for spare.
It's so hard to play like Winston to this when you're constantly being like overrun because there's like no burst healing you can do. There's no Ana to hit the bio grenade. You know, there's no Moira there to just spam heal you as much as possible. It's really hard to heal someone up. So when you're Winston and you get caught out just a little bit too far, retreating's like never going to be an option for you.
All right, no Clout right now. Going to be one of their final opportunities here. And they just go bowling here. Bowling for Louis. Self-destruct to the back. Doesn't quite hit him there. But no Clout. Still plenty of options here. Voil on the point. Barrage locked and loaded. There's a Transcendence in play, but he doesn't care. Drops the Barrage. Was looking for Progi. Does enough that he falls, but it's a trade. He's already out of the fight. And I look to Louis here. Louis has been on fire the last few fights. Looking for a bit more. Pulse Bomb out. Goodbye, Hobbs. A special delivery. And no Clout. Going to be retaking the point here, Jason.
I'm not sure why Guru's self-destruct was outside in the courtyard instead of on the point there. It was actually behind like the main pillar too, so it's not like it could zone anyone off inside of the point. And because they all retreated, they actually lost control of it and turned it over to No Clout. So a little bit questionable, I guess. I didn't see the full situation, but either way, pushing back into this, Progi's gonna have his primal rage. He's gonna be able to stall no matter what.
No Clout going to open up with the barrier here early on. Hawk not in position to get it, but still might not matter. Hawk is actually just trying to get away from pressure and will shake that pressure successfully. Gonna buy enough time for self-destruct. Hypnot though, still under pressure. Louis slaying tanks once more. Deadeye on the point, nullified by D.Va at the last moment. And now, OWLMP down to their final 4 players, moving on to the point. Louis still in hot pursuit of the Ferret, drops the flashbang, looking for Voil, gets tonight as paintbrush from the side. And no Clout, they're on the verge of evening up this series.
They've been able to do it, able to take the first map so far against a team that's undefeated in the open division of the Owls or OWLMP. No Clout proving that one loss they do have doesn't matter too much for them. A great victory actually, considering they lost the first map and came back in the next 2.
It was interesting stuff for both teams as well, where it seemed like the game plan for OWLMP throughout all of it was blow up tanks, blow up tanks, blow up tanks. And you saw No Clout actually have to adapt over the course of the series where you had fights early on where both tanks were getting pretty much bopped immediately. But think to what we saw in that last fight where Hawk realized the pressure was coming in on him and even missed the sound barrier because he went out of his way to just avoid pressure that much, but it let him come back into the fight, nullify the Deadeye, and keep No Clout in the fight with good tank pressures. So I really like the adaptations we saw from the tanks of No Clout.
Also keep in mind the DPS that they were running for No Clout was the Pharah and the Tracer, so it's not like you're really going to be able to shut them down. Like as a McCree is very seldomly going to kill a Pharah when there's a Mercy attached to the Pharah, and the Tracer, if you're put at this kind of level, should I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like a Tracer should just not really ever get flashbanged against a McCree. At the same time, a McCree should never really miss the flashbang. But I don't think a Tracer's going to put herself in a position to be flashed, so you shouldn't really ever die from that. But they had the potential with the they had the potential with the Zenyatta to burst a tank down, which is why they kept going for it.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to flashbang versus flankers, it kind of depends, like, what the situation is. If the Tracer knows full well the McCree is, it probably shouldn't happen. But if the McCree is being sneaky and hiding behind a wall or something, then it's a little bit more forgivable, where you just walk forward and it's like, oh, it's a cowboy, I'm dead. But, Jason...
I just remember many times of during that 6-week stint in Colorado for OWPS, just playing with Hex and just he wasn't in the room next to me, but I could hear him screaming whenever he got flashbanged by McCree because he always plays Tracer.
Hex is an intense dude, man, when it comes to playing. I have learned this. He takes his Overwatch very seriously, but...
It got very grim very quickly one night playing with him, yeah.
He has strong thoughts on certain heroes and whether or not they should be in the game. But as we move forward, we go to King's Row here once more, where, again, the teams get to pick their maps here, so it won't always be in the same order, but King's Row, certainly a favorite, and it's going to be OWLMP on the defense here to start things off.
And actually, by the way, as well, Sugar Free's coming in for Hobbs. So the Tracer probably not going to be seen at a Hobbs. Or maybe just they want to be able to put Sugar Free on a couple different heroes that Hobbs can't play. I guess we'll find out, obviously, as time does go on. I mean, there's not a lot we know about No Clout because there's not really much tape on them. And the team history for individual players doesn't really date back to anything notable. At least in my quick research I did before we did start today. So, yeah, I do apologize for not giving them enough credit, but they've already been able to take the first map in the series. And it is a best of 5. It's not going to be 4 maps. There will be a guaranteed winner in the series. And they will be playing against, I believe, FU, Fusion University, if I'm not mistaken.
So the winner gets a full course ride to FU is what you're telling me there. So, hey, scholarship for everyone.
Exactly. Scholarships paid.
All right. Well, this defense as they roll out here, nothing too surprising for me, where it does seem you're seeing a little bit more triple tank here on King's Row, where it's a map uniquely suited for Moira, and I think that's why we're seeing it here. But DPS-wise, a lot of teams run this with a Junkrat. OWLMP, they're running this with McCree instead here, Jason.
I mean, Junkrat gives you more hotel control, right? But the McCree gives you more air control if you do see, like, a Pharah come out. You know, we saw Boyle play her quite a bit over the course of Lijiang Tower. Actually played it every map but one, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know. Actually, I do like it because they would have had nothing to do with anti-air otherwise.
We'll see just how this Louis versus Voyle matchup is going to go here, where Pharah in play early here in King's Row, and for No Clout, the question is just how aggressive do they want to be on moving in? They're not running anything that is traditionally dive, but it's going to be a game of footsies for Reinhardt's, with Voyle doing a bit of poking over the top. Got to think that they're going to push the issue here soon, though, as Voyle has gotten some decent poke to the back.
A lot of pressure, speaking about that, is going to go to Louis, who has to deal with Boyle and has to deal with Sugar Free on the Tracer. There's a triple DPS composition coming out of the attacking squad out of No Clout with a solo tank.
And you see, they tried to cut things off there, but they took a lot of damage in the process. Both Louis and Wars down here in the fight, and this is great for the offense of No Clout. They've made the trades they need to make. Voyle, plenty of room to work with, does finally get taken down by D.Va, but it's a little bit too little too late. The overall poke damage in ground war easily won here by No Clout, and this should be a first point take.
Yeah, I mean, Louis got focused on really early in the fight, too. You take him out of the equation, they don't have a lot of DPS to work with, as long as you've been very careful about how much charge to give over to Worst. And they're going to go for, it looks like an archway hold, or they ideally want to go for it, as they're going to shove directly into the attacking side's area. But they also have to keep in mind they're down ultimates. They have to be very, very careful here.
And what they have to be careful of, too, as well, is Hypnot. He's looking to be the hero here. Looking at positioning. He wants to drop the hammer. Gets through. Drops it. Knocks down 3. And the fall-through is going to be there for No Clout. They take down Progi immediately. And it's a full retreat for the Owls. But it's going to be one brought with blood here, Jason, as that is about as decisive gets.
And you really can't underestimate how hard it is for a Reinhardt to push into enemy team and hit a shatter when you don't have a Lucio and they do, because they've actually switched things out. Paintbrush is on Zen now. Not having that speed to get behind, like to jump past the Reinhardt and hit a shatter, is very difficult to do. And yet he was able to hit 4 or 5 targets, or hit a hell of a lot of targets. But they don't miss that ultimate, and now pushing into them is going to be the defending side with a Deadeye.
Deadeye up, Louis looking to crack some shields, move his way forward. Gonna be causing the Coalescence to come out here from Little Menace. And both sides beams for both ends. Moira's in play, but Progi's a little bit too far out. Now there's a tank advantage, and Hypnot, he has Earth Shatter again. He drops it immediately. Doesn't quite get as much as he was looking for from the last time. Sound barrier in from the defense, and there's a Graviton. The defense committing just about everything they have here, Jason, but they're not able to get a clean fall through. And now here comes Hawk, the self-destruct to the back, going to zone them out, and even gets IPN. The offense of No Clout is unrelenting right now.
Progi, I'm not sure about this one. He goes for the solo shatter himself. The Transcendence to follow up with Hawks to take down Guru, and that shatter they needed to stop this pressure has been completely wasted. Progi did die in that last fight, that last skirmish from Hypnot very, very quickly. Hypnot using his own shatter to kill Progi was very smart because he knew Progi had a shatter available, and he prevented any sort of big wombo combo to land.
Jason, I have to say right now, if you are watching Hypnot, you have to go, he probably has shatter. He's at 73% again. This would be 3 straight team fights with 3 straight Earth Shatters. They're just going to buy a little bit of time. He's getting healed by Moira in the back. Now he's going even deeper, 97%. He's so close to dropping the hammer here. And with Progi down, what can protect them? Absolutely nothing. And oh, he almost gets knocked off the edge, but not quite. Moving forward, hasn't had to drop the shatter yet. He's just waiting, waiting. And meanwhile, the payload is moving all the more forward, and finally drops a shatter, picks up 2. No Clout easily moving their way in.
Funny enough, Boyle actually did miss his own Graviton earlier. Actually, it was eaten by Guru, so they didn't have that Graviton surge to use in that last fight, which is, I guess, why Hypnot's playing so aggressive to force them back. That's going to be a self-shot coming in directly on top of the payload, and no one's going to touch it in time. And that is a big first half here out of No Clout.
It's a very fast time for King's Row, where you think about how King's Row normally goes down. Generally speaking, you want to drain off a decent amount of time on first, an okay amount of time on second, and then use third to sort of have your final hold where it goes down to the wire. But 4 minutes and 10 seconds left, Jason. That is blazingly fast.
It is one of the fastest times I think I've seen. I think I've seen like a 5-minute before, but that was like a long time ago. I just want to touch really quickly though at the end of that half when you're talking about, you know, Hypnot holding the shatter. I think something he did really smart was they already got like a couple of kills, right?
Yep.
And if you shatter and get the rest of the kills, everyone's going to spawn in together to go for a contest, right? So if you delay your shatter a little bit longer, then you hit it, then you pick up 3 kills when the rest of the people you already killed are respawning back in, you keep them really desynced. So you're going to have like 3 people come in or stragglers come in to contest the payload. So you're always going to have like a 6-on-3 fight, which you should never lose.
No, and it's a good way of just staggering, as you mentioned, and I agree. It's good game sense where you realize, okay, can we kill everyone now? Yes. Is it tempting to kill everyone now? Yes.
Always.
But you just have that extra level of self-control to go, actually, we're just going to wait. And it definitely worked out there for No Clout. Jason, though, we're swapping sides. It's going to be No Clout on the defense this time. And it's also a bit of a swap-up in strategy where we see Louis on the Zarya, and both sides will be running the Junkrat. So it was a Junkrat-free game the last round, and yet now both sides decide that they want a little bit of junk in their lives.
A little junk in the trunk. I'm actually curious, does Louis play Pharah? Do you personally know, or does Worst play Pharah?
I think Louis has dabbled in a bit of everything, but I know Louis is very confident in his Zarya play, so it explains why he's Zarya here, but there's not going to be any explosives in the skies here this time, Jason. Instead, they're going to be rolling on the ground. Hotel control should be key.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely okay with the Zarya. I was just curious if they play Pharah at all, because Pharah is such a good counter to Junkrat. As you can see, Sugar Free already up to 35% on his ultimate, doing some serious damage already off the bat. IPN's at half HP, and they're getting themselves, you know, situated around the point, but that re-engage is going to come in any second now, especially with Boyle getting charged.
They've given up a tick here early on. I think they're more worried about winning the overall battle, but Progi, he's down immediately, and now that's going to let No Clout retake control of the point, start bullying OWLMP a little bit more, and meanwhile, to your point, Jason, you look at Sugar Free, 80% on the Junkrat. There's going to be a tire to deal with here for the offense on the next push, but it's going to be a tire on both ends, so I think the rip tires might tell the tale of the tape.
It's definitely going to come down to that, especially with how grouped up the teams are going to be. I just feel bad for Progi in that last fight, because one of the most frustrating things to have happen when you're fighting a Reinhardt, and especially if you're Ryan v. Rhyme, is to be jumping while he's hitting you, because you can be moved. And I think he got moved into the wall away from his team.
Here comes the tire from Sugar Free to the back, taken down. Worse, able to deal with his counterpart. Now, here's the Graviton, and he's not going to tire into it immediately. Instead, you're going to wait, hope that they get the kills required from it. The Transcendence, though, kept them mostly alive in that situation, so It was a grab for Transcend save that worked out way better for the offense as they're able to take down anyone who crossed the threshold.
Well, the thing is that now on the attack here for OWLMP or the Owls, they don't have a Transcendence. They've been using Moira and Lucio, so they don't have anything to stop a Graviton Surge coming their way, which Boyle does now have. This is going to buy time for the Riptire to come up, buy time for Hypnot to build up another Earth Shatter, for a little Menace to get up towards his Coalescence. They're going to recycle these ults.
Well, the Graviton comes in, grabs Wars, and the fall-through is there. The Tire, even though it gets Hawk, well, it still might not be bad. They're actually able to deal with that Graviton pretty well. They were able to re-solidify. I think the Tire actually distracted the back line of the defense, and as a result, we see OWLMP now making their way through. This is looking very good for them, despite that Tire, which took down 2.
Yeah, the Graviton, it was good. The self-destruct out of Hawk wasn't. It kind of landed like on the wall, I believe, and it kind of exploded above them. All they needed to do was just wait like a few seconds, and Sugar Free would have had his Tire, which is like way more of a guaranteed way to pick up kills in those Graviton surges. And even Hypnot had his Shatter about to be available too. So I don't know why they forced the fight so early, but they were definitely trying to force the fight on their own terms.
Lyra now holding on to the Graviton. Again, he's being sneaky. He's going through the library. Graviton to the back. Everyone gonna get caught by that grab. And the fall through is there. It is Moira Coalescence piercing its way through. They got on Zen. The damage being limited to 1, but look at the overall health here, Jason. They're beaten, they're bloodied, they're bruised, and yet they're still able to take down Krogi, and Louis takes himself out. What in the world?
He's not scared of anyone, even himself. Yeah, Hypnot's still trying to hold the front line. Paintbrush has his Transcendence now. He died very early in the fight. He's going to try to get back into the point as quick as possible. I'm not sure why Hypnot charged onto the payload. It kind of just cost him his own life, especially when Paintbrush is about to be here yet again to help contest, but they're just trying to stall for time. I don't think they're looking at a hold here necessarily. They want to buy time, though, for everyone to respawn back in and go for the second point defense.
All right, Voil, Graviton on deck for the defense. Has a long way to walk here back to the front line, so this is going to be one fight buffer here for No Clout if they want to keep defending on second. But they have the tools they need here, Jason, between the grab and the Tire.
I just hope they combo correctly this time, because they remember last time they did the self-destruct grab, and that didn't work out at all. Have to be very careful. Boyle did lose his own Graviton on the attacking half, but he won't lose it this time.
Graviton comes in, only picks up 1. It's not the best Graviton for Voil here. They're going to be able to transcend right after. But the Tire takes down 2. Doesn't really matter how the rest of it worked. When you get 2 with the Tire, that's going to open things up for the rest of your team. And the offense of OWLMP pushed back.
So 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. A lot of super ultimates committed, actually, both of them in the last fight for the Owls. So they don't have a Coalescence, they don't have a Sound Barrier. Tire's coming up relatively soon, but the grab and the Earth Shatter, I guess, is what we're going to have to look for them. Problem is that there's another Earth Shatter for Hypnot, and he's been so on point with him so far today.
Hypnot has been a beast in more than one sense, and now he's playing the corner, looking for his time to dash past the other Reinhardt and drop an Earth Shatter. But they know it's coming, so you sort of have this mind game. Oh, Reinhardt was knocked up. There was an opportunity. Hypnot not able to take advantage. And now the offense, they're definitely waiting for the Coalescence here, Jason. You take a look. They want IPN to have it.
It's so difficult if you're on the defending team here, too, because you don't have the speed to get away from the enemy team if they engage on it. The Graviton has landed, but it doesn't matter. Sugar Free counters the Tire. Louis already gone down to Paintbrush with, I think, a nice Orb of Destruction, and there's a Shatter to follow up with.
Shatter coming in. Here comes the Tire from Sugar Free, rolling its way in. Over the top. Parkour. Moving. Dashing. Oh, is it actually going to get to back? Yes, back. There was no escape. And speaking of Tires, Jason, there's a really big point here. Morse has had 3 Tires in a row that have been killed. Riptire needs to get more value than that, and it usually does.
I don't know. It's just been really smart out of the way they've been defending against it with Sugar Free taking the Tire down, or if it's the angles he's been coming in with. Because this area is perfect for it. You can get directly over the buildings in the middle, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. He's definitely going to need to start to hit a couple of these more of these Tires, but more importantly, they need the second checkpoint because they're running out of time.
Krogi right now, Earth Shatter, locked and loaded, moving his way up. He is the man of the hour. Gets knocked up into the sky, down below. Trying to get through Hypnot, drops the Shatter. Gonna knock down 3. It's not a bad engage here, but he gives his life for it in the very beginning, and Hawk was able to zone everyone out with the self-destruct. They couldn't commit onto the Earth Shatter, and as a result, the defense holding strong with only 30 seconds left to go.
And they've got nothing to use here, ZP. They just used a shot in that last fight, and it didn't work out at all. They're going to have a Coalescence in a few seconds, but Coalescence isn't going to be enough to win the fight when they're up against a Transcendence here out of Paintbrush. And Hypnot's already about 70% in towards his next Shatter. Sugar Free is going to have a Tire up guaranteed in this next fight. And with 10 seconds now left to go, they have to rush to the point. And look how aggressive the side of no Clout are holding.
No Clout, they're being aggressive right now because, frankly, they can be. They forced the Coalescence out early. They're still holding on to the Transcendence, and for good measure, here comes a tire. Over the top, in and out, doesn't get a kill, but there's still so much for the defense here, Jason. They're holding on to the Transcendence. They don't even need to use it as they just outmaneuver the offense in all senses of the word. No Clout, taking the lead in the series 2-1.
The tire didn't kill anyone, but it got Progi so low on life that he quickly got finished off by Hawk. So then Hypno had an easy shatter to land. Really well done, like, by them there to kind of pair it together. Even though the tire didn't get a kill, but to kind of know that we got Progi really low to finish him off, to force out the next domino to fall into place. Perfect. And again, you know, I didn't really know what to expect out of No Clout because it's a team that I've never seen before with players I've never even heard of. But they're playing extremely well so far.
Well, what really strikes out to me about No Clout is the tank play, where I think it has been sort of the mantra of Overwatch for quite a while now, where good tanks set how a team can play, and they really make everyone else around them look better. Hypnot and Hawk have both had very good moments in the series here so far, whether it be Hypnot having perfectly timed shatters, Hawk getting more contribution than you'd expect from a diva into the backline. The tanks of No Clout, I think, would have set things apart, where even where you've had a player like Louis perhaps having great hero plays on a flaking DPS, it hasn't really been enough to compensate.
I think Paintbrush as well deserves a little bit of credit on the Zen, because he's been having like quite a few transcendences. He's most importantly been staying alive. Like, he hasn't had too much pressure onto him, it seems. The only time he might have died is like due to like a tire or like a graviton, which he got caught in without a transcendence. I think the support core out of their team has been doing really well. And now we're seeing Substitute come in. So we've already had Hobbs come out, Sugar Free come in, and now Voil's being taken out and Hobbs is being brought in. So we're seeing like two potential tracers. I'm not sure what they want to go for here.
I don't know. I mean, this is a case where I think No Clout has been somewhat active in the open scene, but while those games are simply not broadcasted, so it's going to be interesting. That's a cool thing, though, Jason, about tournaments like this, where we see some veteran names, and we sort of have the veterans as a bit of a benchmark, but now we get to see what some of the lesser-known names can do and see where they are on their path to pro, where, you know, some of these players, we might look back on them 2 years from now and be like, oh, this is where he was before he got in the Overwatch League, say, 2 years down the line. So it's kind of cool to see new names and also just see new names do well.
Well, I remember, like, for League of Legends, while we have a little bit of time here as we're about to start the next map, like casting, you guys wouldn't recognize the names unless you're big League fans, but casting some people who played in these like Go For weeklies, like once a week, like very little prize money in it. And I remember casting them back with Joe Miller, and then like a year or two later, we see them in LCS. Like they're on the grind, and I think players like this as well, who, especially who don't have like a background of being well known in the beta or, you know, like right after within the first year of Overwatch because they weren't on any big name teams, they have an even bigger hill to climb. Because how are you going to be picked up for like a pro team if you're not known? So that's kind of like the struggle they have to go with, and the struggle of always being the underdogs in these matchups. But they've proven that there's still a lot of talent out there, and there's still a lot of people that should always be looked into when it comes to OWL or into any of these contenders teams.
No doubt about it. But Jason, we now move forward to Temple of Anubis, a map that it's been interesting to watch in Overwatch over time, where it sort of went from the most infamous map where teams didn't want to play on it to a map that teams now have fairly set strategies on, where we see different rollouts for first on both the offense and defense, where we sort of have a better idea of ebb and flow for how to crack the final point. And sure, there's been changes around the way that have made the map more playable, but it's definitely probably one of the most evolved maps in Overwatch over time.
Do you remember the good old days when there wasn't a left wall to walk through, or there was a solid wall on the left-hand side of second point? I remember those days. Pepperidge Farm remembers those days. That was like back before PAX East, before the first event we ever did with Overwatch.
It was great. It was where you actually had to do a special jump with Tracer to get over there, where you'd like jump on a box and then another box and then like double blink over. But they could destroy the boxes and you actually just were screwed. Good thing they tore down that wall. But now, as we look at the defense...
Trump is upset.
Oh my word. As we look at the defense, Hypnot on the Orisa here in the back. And they use the Mei wall to bring her up here. So if she gets knocked down once, Jason, she's not getting back up. But it provides a lot of protection here for No Clout. And room for them to look at all entryways, as the offense right now is going up that upper right staircase.
How's worse on Reaper gonna get in there though on the high ground? I mean, they have to force them down to fight, which I guess is the avenue for him to want to engage on. If you drop down as a tank, you're gonna demolish. Hawk is quickly gonna be desuited, and someone else is gonna have to get down there to help.
Right now,
wait, what?
no Clout. They're just content fighting this from the top. Progi pulled out, tries to leap up right into that recent minigun, and Hypnot right now a bird's eye view of everything, and I think OWLMP quite literally put themselves in a corner, Jason.
What? How did Hawk not die? He dropped down, and he immediately got desuited because you had a Reaper, a Tracer, like you had all the damage you needed to kill her, and they didn't finish off the kill. They didn't kill anyone, and it was only Hawk down there to really contest, and then even Hobbs came in for a second. That really surprised me that they weren't able to get much more progress than just one tick.
And speaking of Hobbs, Hobbs is on the Widowmaker, and there's no offensive Widow. Louis dies immediately, gets caught out by the Junkrat spam, and that's already going to make this push delayed for the offense. You don't want to go in with 5. It's not ideal to go in 5, and they have enough time that they're not going to do it, but they're going to lose about 30, 40 seconds here, Jason, and this gives Hobbs more time to find another pick.
And look at Louis, he's really scared to go for the cross too, since Infrasight is up. He's finally going to get around, he's finally going to make his way in here. A great little disengage, though. Progi tries to jump in, immediately gets pushed back off Guru, or Guru goes directly into a Junkrat trap and gets desuited right off the bat.
Guru out of the fight immediately. They're not getting the Diva protecting. And look at that. Progi has to immediately leap out as Sugar Free piles on the triple kill, the cherry on top. But that fight was already gone on tank play, Jason, where you can't have both your tanks get brutalized that quickly into a fight.
Well, Progi tried to jump, got knocked back by Guru. Or sorry, he got knocked back by Hawk. And then Guru went in and ran directly into a Junkrat trap. Those tanks were dead before the fight even began. That was just, I don't know, that was really well done to kind of read into that one. Really well played by Hawk.
Defense right now has Valkyrie at the ready, where, again, it's not the res machine it used to be, but Mercy can stay pretty healthy here. And when they just don't seem comfortable in attacking this encampment, it's going to be difficult where they try to dive in. The Valkyrie's there immediately. They're not able to get on top the way they want. And meanwhile, Hypnot is just sitting here with the Orisa fusion cannon, getting all sorts of damage done, disrupting them as they're on the point. But Hawk is out of the fight here early on. Little Menace gets caught by the self-destruct, and no Clout might have mechanically misplayed a bit here, Jason, as now they're going to burn Transcendence and burn just about everything they have to stay in this fight, but might be too little too late.
Hobbs has been able to get out, though, during the entirety of the blade, and quickly gets finished off, though, as Worst does get on the higher ground, but still they bought so much time off of that. Again, Progi jumped in, got immediately knocked down by Hawk. He had to use the Primal Rage to get back on the high ground, then to just knock them off in that position. Like an ultimate committed just to do that. Very difficult. They've quickly pushed and transitioned into the second point, though.
Well, Hypnot says, I don't care about bongos. I'm going to go immediately to Winston. As no Clout actually in a bit of a rough spot here. Lots of momentum for the offensive side, though they don't have ultimates to back it up. They still have better positioning, but Louis taken down by that Junkrat Vine early in this fight. They're not going to worry about Louis darting in and around. And now this is where defense and attrition will rear their heads. Should be a hold from no Clout, and that's unfortunate for the Owls because that was a good opportunity they had there, Jason.
So I think they put Voil in to do Pharah and to do Zarya. And when they want to run double DPS, they run Sugar Free and Hobbs. Like when they want to run 2-2-2, they run Hobbs and Sugar Free. When they want to run potentially like a triple tank setup, they put Voil in. So maybe that's kind of the reasoning behind the sub. Sorry, I was just kind of thinking about that. Yeah, if you're Louis here, I don't know how you're really gonna deal with Sugar Free because there's so many corners that you can just run into a random trap from and die because you're so squishy.
It's definitely mission impossible to a degree. Hobbs was looking for the support pick up there, didn't quite have the pulse bomb to throw out, but he's still on the flank here for the defense, which can be a double-edged sword. If you get an early pick off, it's great. If you get picked off, you set the 6v5, but the offense, there's no chill. 6v5 moving in. Pulse bomb to the backline, though, almost gets Zen. IPN only saved by the barrier, so he's a bit out of the fight here early on. Sugar Free finds Mac, 5-on-5 here on the point, but the offense definitely a little bit bloodied up here, Jason, as defense, they're at full HP, they're able to work the point to their advantage, and really, this is not looking like it's going to result in the tick here for the offense.
Yeah, not at all. They got more than enough kills to stop that push from happening. I mean, it's still the same old 2CP, right? If you lose one person going in, or if you lose 2 people going in, there's no real chance you're going to be able to take the actual point, even if you do have ultimates at that rate. But then you have to look on the defending side. I mean, they used quite a bit. They used the Tire, they used the Self-Destruct, they used the Valkyrie. They have a Transcendence, luckily, to help recycle some of these ultimates into the next fight. But then so does IPM. And Worst is going to have his own blade.
Hobbs is creeping right now over the top. He's going to have a beautiful entry here onto Zenyatta and forces the Transcendence immediately. A little bit earlier. That's big, because now we flip to Wars. Wars has the blade. Gets to use the blade right as Transcendence is fading, looking to dive in. Hobbs has set up Wars really well here, but Wars is only able to get one kill that's immediately brought back up. It's not quite as good as he would have hoped. And now, as we look here, both teams fighting on the point, the defense looking like they're going to be able to hold.
So either there was like a misjudging of ultimate percents or just kind of miscommunication. They tried to go in and then they bladed. So IPN like trance like to force the fight to kind of have like no one's gonna die at this moment. But then Paintbrush is like, all right, I can wait till your trance is done or wait till the blade comes out. Worse uses the blade within his own transcendence and then Paintbrush just uses his own too. So it's like, I don't know, there's a little bit of disconnect there. They needed to bait that out before they could really go in for it. And now with that post-spawn land coming in, there's no way that Owl should go in for this.
Hobbs has been camping that same upper area for about 4 pushes now, and no one even goes up to try and push him off of it. They just kind of ignore him, and it's putting IPN in a rough situation every single time where, look, this shouldn't be a secret right now. Let's take a look at Hobbs. A little bit of a journey here, Jason. You see Hobbs moving up, timing the jump, and he's just going to camp up here, and you keep seeing Owls move in from this direction, and this time, I think they finally decided, no, we're going to evict you from your apartment that you've set up.
Take away that tent that he's got. And I mean, he's going to go right back in this position, though he's still kind of keeping control and keeping information flowing for his team of knowing if they're coming in that left-hand side. So the support's most importantly can play for this position. You can see Little Menace spread out at the moment from Paintbrush, so they both can't get taken out at the same time. Really good split out of supports here. And again, another Riptire comes in, less than a minute left to go, but they've already got enough kills to defend this. I think this defending side out of No Clout is just, it's superb. Like the way they position themselves to gather information, to not lose crucial components at the wrong time, like in the same amount of time, is really well done.
And they only have to hold Jason for another 35 seconds, so it's going to be the final opportunity here for OWLMP. And what's going to be at stake for them here is Wars with this Dragon Blade. And he doesn't have to worry about Transcendence here immediately if they're able to find Paintbrush in the very beginning of this fight. However, because he was poking Winston, the orb is on him. That poke onto the Winston is going to give Paintbrush Transcendence, so Wars kind of hurt his own chances here because now he's going to dive in. He's going to force out the Transcendence, but now he gets to hold the blade. He gets to wait, and wait, and now the Transcendence is done. He can pull out the blade. He's just trying to go for Mercy, though, unsuccessfully. You got to commit the blade sooner rather than later. His team is dying around him. And at 90 HP, does he pull out the blade now? No, he's still waiting under pressure, and the blade comes out when it doesn't matter. He just falls.
I don't know how I feel about that one, but we'll get back to it in a minute because overtime is still taking a Riptire coming in from spawn practically, though Sugar Free's going to be looking for someone. Going to connect on IPN. Now it's just the lone Lucio of Mac to keep his teammates alive, but Louis now, the last person alive, even near the point, won't have a chance to contest. That blade, or lack thereof, was definitely questionable. I don't know what he was waiting for. He was full HP. Yeah, the Mercy is like right in front of you, but the res time and all that stuff, you don't have to worry about, you know, waiting for the res to be used or something like that, or the Valkyrie to be over.
It was a little bit strange too, because I thought the opening there was quite good, where he was able to dash in on the Paintbrush early on, force out the Transcendence, and then, I mean, what more can you hope for as a Genji there, where you get a chance to hold back, both Transcendences on both sides, basically canceling out, and then you get to come in with the blade, but even as the Transcendence faded, the blade never quite came out, and I guess from his point of view, he never saw the best opportunity, but there's a point there, Jason, where you kind of have to almost gamble and go, I hope this works out, and throw it in, because it's not going to get any better.
Well, there's also the fact that they stack support ultimates as well in the push for OWLMP. They had a barrier come in, then a Transcendence within like a second or two after the barrier came down. So stacking those together is obviously not the most ideal situation. Maybe Wars was expecting like a Trance to come in or a barrier to come in for him to use the blade within. But that's never a good sign if supports are stacking ults here.
Definitely not. But there is still a chance for OWLMP in this matchup, where one is potentially pretty unlikely, and the other is just simply going for the tie. The first is that if they could hold on first point, it doesn't happen a whole lot in Overwatch, Jason, but it has happened in the past, and Sombra is a hero you'd want to run if you're looking for that full point hold, where it can be difficult for teams to escape that push and pull of ult economy where you're getting EMP'd every other fight. Louis is going to have to play a very good Sombra here, though, to make that happen.
I mean, I also have to worry about Hobbs, because that one pick could be enough to just give him that first point, and then you have a Sombra into second, which, Sombra works in second, but they only need to capture that first tick to win, so, not only the map and the actual series.
All right, Louis, holding here in the back, now moving to the side, just looking for poke damage here. Can't get picked off, has to play on the edge between life and death with the translocator. Now, he's going in for more poke. Meanwhile, the offense, they're just diving straight in, Jason. They don't want to give Louis time to build up this EMP. The more they take this fight head on, the better it is for them. And they've already gotten a tick and a half for it. It's putting OWLMP in a rough spot, and they don't really feel comfortable engaging too heavily. And those that have are getting just thrown about. Guru out of the mech, Louis taken down. He drops the EMP, but there wasn't really the fall through there.
Well, Hobbs has been getting free reign over this point the entire time. Finally, Worst is going to go deal with him after they've already captured this first point. Hobbs should never have been given that much freedom. He got a kill on a Louis to stop, well, obviously the ultimate did go off out of him, but he was able to get a kill on a Louis, transitioned, I think, 2 more kills off of that. Now the quickie pushed into the second point. Major misplays coming out of OWLMP.
And the Owls now, Jason, they have to play for a tie. They cannot win this anymore. They have to hold for 7 minutes without giving a single tick. Now, Hobbs was under a little bit of pressure there. Drops down. Will probably go back up in a moment. I don't think he'll stay on the Widow, but oh my goodness, Sugar 3 picks off 2. Now this is a big opportunity. See how this works out. Warris brings out a blade, trying to stabilize, gets sniped down by Hobbs, and no Clout. Well on their way to what could be a decisive take of first. They only need 1 tick, Jason. They're 75% of the way there.
Hobbs is finally going to go down, though, as finally Progi gets on top of him here. The Transcendence being knocked away, so he can't heal up his teammates. Progi has to be so careful. He's just going to barely stay alive here while being under siege from so many different targets. The Transcendence is now worn off. Worst is trying to come in, but Worst isn't even close to a blade.
Progi coming in with the Primal Rage, again, trying to buy some time for the numbers to equalize. And they're starting to go that way. Sound barrier out on both sides. OWLMP, though, more numbers on the point. And yes, they will be stabilizing here. It's going to be a reset for the offense, but what a scary offense there early on that almost got that first tick.
I'm actually a little bit surprised, as I said, a little bit surprised to see Hobbs still sticking to Widowmaker here. Louis is going to be pushing in for some damage, trying to work towards that EMP. He's got to be a little bit careful in case that Widowmaker was still there. They definitely don't want to lose him off the bat. But he's trying to get his EMP up, 75%. Now, if you're attacking here, you got to be very careful about chip damage. You don't want to do a ton of it because you don't want to feed that EMP over.
You certainly don't, but one good thing is that Reaper doesn't really care about EMP that much. Hobbs can be almost as effective in EMP as he is without EMP being active, and Progi wasn't expecting Reaper, dies early. The EMP is out there, so Worst moving in off the EMP, picks off 2, finds Lucio, who is hiding in the corner going, please God, don't let him see me. Unfortunately, well, Worst did in fact see him, so that's going to be OWLMP with a good defense here, but still a long way to go, Jason.
And well, I mean, it's not that bad of a loss for... What's up?
Body blocking. Hawk walks away out, and that's a big stagger.
Very big stagger. Unluckily for, I guess, OWLMP, and luckily for the side of no Clout, that was a lot of ultimates committed. The sound, or the EMP plus the blade. They don't have a big damage-dealing ultimate to now use to push back, or to counter this push coming through.
They don't, and for OWLMP, it's going to focus a lot on Transcendence and perhaps Guru getting someone here while they wait for Louis to build up the EMP. They need to play this back a little bit, put Guru in a good position for the self-destruct, but now the fight is underway, and OWLMP is a little bit split here early on. Progi already eating a lot of damage. He might die first again, but no, he gets paralyzed but doesn't use it in time. He's still picked off. Both Winston's out of the fight. EMP out from Louis, but all it results in is his death immediately, as suddenly no Clout. Turning up the pressure here, Jason. They're on the point once more, and there's not much room to spare.
Deathbots can come in, the self-destruct as well to zone him off the point. It might catch on a couple. No, Hobbs actually used that Wraith form just to escape in the nick of time here. The Primal Rage on the Progi is going to buy a little bit of time for his teammates to respawn right back in, but the Soundbear is going to be there, and the Soundbear catches everyone. The Blade hasn't gotten a single kill here. Again, the Transcendence of IPN is good. It keeps his teammates alive for now, but Hawk has a self-destruct to use himself.
Meanwhile, look at Hobbs. This is the best situation for a Reaper where you get cleanup. People aren't looking at you. You're doing all sorts of damage, just laying it in on person after person as they move out onto the point. This is where Reaper shines in Temple of Anubis, as Hobbs is cleaning up anyone who moves out. Progi, you might move in, but Hobbs, he's gonna kick you right out.
Louis is about to have another EMP, though. He's at 99%. He's finally going to get it up. He's going to look to translocate back in and use it onto the entirety of the enemy team. As Progi is finally able to take down one of the supports, but a self-destruct coming from downtown from Hawk gets 2 big kills.
And yet, we still see OWLMP managing to delay this. This is actually crazy how they've kept one foot on the point. It's so close, but it's not close enough. As No Clout going to take the map and take the series. Guru was really close to delaying that just a little bit more, Jason, but didn't happen.
Yeah, and that's just kind of how 2CP kind of goes. But the great defense they put up in that first half, all they needed to get was that first third tick to close this one out. This was actually really well played by Sugar Free and the rest of the team. Just playing on the high ground. Used that Junkrat spam. And I actually think that was the first engagement that we saw happen, maybe the second on their defending half.
Well, No Clout definitely showing that they might in fact have some clout, so perhaps a team name change might be underway. But Jason, we mentioned a little bit in the break between maps, but for me, if I had to say something that impressed me most about No Clout, it was their tank play. I thought Hypnot and Hawk played very well, and I think if No Clout can leverage that going forward, they could actually go fairly deep in this tournament.
Yeah, good tank play, and I like the versatility of the team, I guess we can say, with having like Voil, Sugar Free, and Hobbs, like all being able to rotate in for different situations. Obviously having like a triple tank setup, if you want to put Voil in, if you want to run Fire, put Voil in, if you want to run the 2-2-2, you run Sugar Free and Hobbs. I don't know, just a really interesting team in general, kind of like a new breath of fresh air to like the tier 2 scene, since we haven't been able to see too much of it in North America.
No doubt, but Jason, I got a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of the tier 2 scene moving forward as these players are not to be ignored. But guys, we're going to be moving to a quick break. When we come back, No Clout has earned their full ride scholarship to Fusion University, good old FU. That's going to be our next match here at the Overwatch Beat Invitational Season 3. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss it.